episode of Saints Talk Local. Today, we're honored to have our special guest, former Congresswoman and now Orange County mayoral candidate Stephanie Murphy. We're just going to have a brief conversation about some of her goals, her past experience. So thank you so much for joining us, former Congresswoman. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to now becoming the Orange County mayoral candidate?
Sure. And first of all, let me just say thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you and with your viewers. I'm somebody who believes deeply in public service, and the reason I believe in public service is that I am a refugee and an immigrant to this country. My parents and I fled communist Vietnam after the end of the Vietnam War, and we were rescued by the U.S. Navy and given a chance to start another life here in the United States by a Lutheran church in Virginia. So I grew up very much working class poor in a trailer park in rural Virginia, but had the benefits of a public school education and all of the public goods that comes with living in the United States. And so I feel deeply indebted to this country. And it's the reason why I left a private sector job after the 9/11 terrorist attacks on this country to go work at the Department of Defense. And it's the reason why, as I am raising a family here in Central Florida, I decided to run for Congress in 2016. And it's the reason why today I look at the future of the Central Florida community and Orange County and want to bring some of the experiences that I've developed throughout my career to leading this community.
And you talked about running for Congress in 2016. Why did you decide to leave the Department of Defense and run for Congress?
So I left the Department of Defense and went into the private sector and moved to Florida in 2008. And so in 2016, I decided to run for Congress after the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. You know, the Pulse nightclub shooting was when a gunman walked into a nightclub in Orlando and took the lives of 49 innocent individuals in an act of both hate and terrorism. And I thought to myself, we can't have hateful rhetoric pervasive in our politics and a dysfunctional Washington, a dysfunctional government, and not expect to see it manifest itself somehow in our own community. And I thought if we were going to change those types of things, we had to change the kinds of people we were sending to Washington. And so I launched a long shot campaign. I got into the race 4 months from Election Day and ended up unseating a 24-year incumbent, becoming the first Vietnamese American woman ever to serve in Congress. And it was really quite the honor of my life to represent this community there.
I mean, what a story. And you served 3 terms and decided to leave in 2022 or 2023. After leaving public service for, I believe, personal or family reasons, is there kind of an inciting event, like, for example, the Pulse shooting now, that got you to run for Orange County mayor?
I think there wasn't one specific event so much as I've been spending much more time at home and here in this community, and I've been able to see the exciting opportunities that exist for us, but also some of the challenges that exist in this community due to the significant growth that we're experiencing. And I want this community to be the kind of place where my kids can, grow up, come back and find an interesting job, but afford to be able to live here and create their own families and have a meaningful life in this area. And I think this is an inflection point for our community. We need good leadership that can paint a vision and apply the resources and the talent that we have here towards that vision of creating a community that works for everyone.
Absolutely. And you kind of talked about making this city or the county affordable. Right now, we have some of the highest property insurance or rates. Housing affordability is skyrocketing, and prices as a whole in our county is really high for the average American. What would you do as mayor to make the city more affordable and help the constituents?
I think one of the key places where a county government can make a significant impact on people's cost of living is around housing. Housing takes up the largest percentage of a family's budget. And right now, housing is so expensive in Orange County that our workforce can't afford to live here. And so housing affordability is an issue that isn't just a social issue, it's also an economic issue. Businesses and companies can't grow and contribute economically to this community if they can't afford to hire workers because the workers can't afford to live where they work. And I think one of the key things a county government can do is to unlock supply. And when you think about the economics of housing costs, it's driven a lot by the fact that there's incredible demand. People are moving here. 1,000 people are moving to this region a week. And we can choose as a community to have these people live in cars or in rundown motels, or we can choose to bring online additional units of housing that people can afford. And there are just so many studies that say that if you increase supply, you can drive down prices and provide opportunity for people to have a shelter that is safe and clean and a foundation for growing their families.
And I think you provide a really unique juxtaposition, having served both on the federal level and now planning to serve on the local level. What do you think is the difference in impact? As a congresswoman, you brought billions of dollars to infrastructure projects, to I-4 and more, and now you're talking about local housing and affordability. What do you think is the difference, and why? What has called you to now serve on a local level versus rerunning for Congress?
Yeah, I almost feel like there's more positive impact that you can make at the local level, particularly given the dysfunction that exists at the federal level today. At the local level, you can make decisions and changes and apply resources towards problems and drive by the solutions on your way home. I'm proud of the resources I pulled down from the federal level for this community, billions of dollars for infrastructure projects and addressing veterans issues and healthcare issues here. But I think we need to have a good executive at the county level who can run an organization that is essentially an $8 billion organization with 8,000 staff and 1.5 million customers, which are the residents of this community. I have the experience of the private sector, of working in one of the world's largest bureaucracies, which is the Department of Defense, as well as working at the federal level, and can marry all of those skill sets to the benefit of our community here, whether that means pulling down money from the federal level or working and building consensus here locally to move our community forward.
And you talked a little bit about the bureaucracy of the federal government versus kind of local government. Right now, our government's incredibly polarized. So can you kind of add to what you think we can do on a local level versus a federal level, to like why local government is a lot easier to get things done?
Yeah, the mayor's race as well as the county commissioner's races are all nonpartisan. So you don't have to wear a red jersey or a blue jersey to run and serve this community. And I think that's a liberating thing, especially in the world of hyper-partisan politics right now. The other thing is that what we've seen kind of infuse our politics both at the federal and state level and beginning to do so a little bit at the local level is that we have a lot of people who misunderstand their mission when they've been elected, and they think that they need to be activists masquerading as legislators. And I think at the local level, if we elect serious people who are willing to work to find serious solutions for the problems that exist and to take advantage of the opportunities that are there, then we can have a local functioning government that delivers for the people. And just sort of at a macro level, I think that's more important now than ever. People are losing faith in their government because they see the dysfunction. And I can't think of a more dangerous thing in a democracy than a disaffected electorate. And it's why I'm excited to be talking to you, because I think young people have a voice in this democracy, and I want your generation to feel inspired by it, to feel heard, to feel as if what they think matters and that their voice matters and that being engaged has a positive outcome.
And you kind of talked about hyperpartisanship that's happening now, and how young people are often kind of either their voices seem that they don't matter, or it's kind of caught in this big narrative about the presidency or other things. Often local politics is kind of left to the side. Why would you tell young people about why they should care about local politics, why they should know the people who are their mayor, why they should know the people that are their county commissioners?
Local politics can have the biggest impact on your day-to-day life, whether that means that it takes you an extra 20 minutes to get to practice or your parents coming to pick you up from school. That traffic issue is a local issue. Whether you are living in a community where people have a fair shot at the American dream, those are opportunities that can be created at the local level. I think, whether you're drinking clean water and, whether you can afford your utilities, all of those are decisions that are made here at the local level. And so I think local politics often is neglected, but they can be the place where the biggest impact on people's day-to-day lives can be made. And so I would suggest that not only should you care and learn about the candidates, but think about participating in some of the campaigns, and then, think about running yourselves. This generation has so much to offer this country. We are deeply in need of fresh ideas, and not knocking, more mature people, but technology is changing the world we live in so quickly. We need digital natives making these decisions. Otherwise, county government, state government, federal government will always be behind the tech curve and will always be legislating for the past decade instead of for the future. And I think, given what's happening in our country and in the world, it's more important than ever to have people who have the ability to look forward.
And you talked a lot about why young people should care about local politics, but specifically on policy. As Orange County Mayor, what would you do for young people and give them opportunities to get involved?
I think something that's near and dear to my heart is that I am the product of a good education. I changed the course of my family in one generation because I was able to go to school, get a good education, and through a combination of scholarships and grants and loans, be the first woman in my family to graduate college. So I think cultivating opportunity for young people is a huge part of what I'd want to do. And that's everything from education to recreational spaces to support in mental health and healthcare. There are so many areas where it's hugely important. And when I was a member of Congress, I had a youth advisory board that consisted of high school and college-aged people, because I know I don't know everything, and I need to be wide open to hearing the challenges that face our younger generation today. And the best way to do it is to hear directly from the folks who are living that.
Yeah, so what, with all of those things like an advisory board and building things like educational spaces, how would you work specifically with all of the other mayors that would be under your purview as mayor of Orange County? Things like Mayor Sheila DeCiccio of Winter Park and so many others that are technically under the jurisdiction of Orange County. You talked a little bit about how local government is kind of like a company or an organization in which you're the CEO, the people that you're serving are the constituents. how would you work with all of these different managers or stewards of their own individual small cities to create effective policy that can drive forward the interest of young people and people more generally?
So I have been on a listening tour. I have met with nearly all of the city mayors inside the county to understand very specifically what are the challenges within their community. And it's been really interesting to me. I think one of the things I would do that is a shift is to see the county mayors as a part of the same team, as opposed to within a hierarchy. We are all peers with in many ways, overlapping electorates and overlapping constituents. And so while the county collects revenue from the entire county, currently it doesn't look out at the county and spend in all of those places evenly. It lets cities kind of manage for themselves. But the reality is that as a resident of this community, I don't think to myself, oh, this road belongs to the county and this road belongs to the city I live in, and assign blame or credit. I just want to know that I can drive from point A to point B and get there in a timely manner. And so I think as government officials, whether you're city or county mayor, you have to work together to make that experience feel seamless. Mm-hmm. And I don't think currently they have standing meetings where and so I would set up something like that, because I really look at all of us as team members trying to deliver the best community that we can, given the resources that we each have.
Absolutely. And not to go back, but to touch on one of the points you talked about, specifically education, mm-hmm. that affects young people the most. Orange County Public Schools is one of the largest school districts in the country, mm-hmm. Top 10 in the country. Teacher pay is decreasing, and there's been a ton of school closures that are currently going down in the community. What would you do as Orange County mayor to try to stop that, and what would you do to invest in our public school infrastructure?
So a large part of the closures is a result of both federal and state voucher programs that are pulling students away. And so in the short term, I think the community will have to look at ways to economize and make the most of the resources it has. But I think the best thing that you can do, because students and their families vote with their feet, is to offer world-class education and bring those people back into the fold, because that makes sense for them and their family to be a part of Orange County Public Schools. So I don't take for granted that it's a difficult moment right now for Orange County Public Schools, and there might be some belt tightening that has to happen in rationalizing the resources that exist. But then we need to provide a world-class product, and part of that is paying teachers well. And right now, it's teachers and firefighters and nurses. It's the working folks who can't afford to live in this community. So, it's a multifaceted solution to ensure that you can retain the best, to provide the best service, and allow some of these people who've been drawn away to come back into our system, because that's the return on investment for their time and for their kids, is to be a part of Orange County Public Schools.
And I like how you talked about a ton of these different workers, from firefighters to police officers to teachers, can't afford to live in this community. If they were going to vote for you, what would you tell them about how you're going to create an Orange County for them, and how you'll uniquely make it more affordable for them to live, to survive, and to thrive?
My goal is to create an affordable, livable, and prosperous Orange County for everyone. And so, let's start with the economy, diversifying the kinds of jobs that we have here and recruiting different industries. I think naturally, as there's competition for employees, the wages move up. I think on affordability, we've talked about housing. That's like the biggest and fastest way that we can affect a family's budget and make this community affordable for folks. I think on livability, that's that goes to your roads and your infrastructure and your parks and making investments that are commensurate with our priorities. We have an over $8 billion budget. That's larger than half a dozen states. It is the envy of many counties all across this country. What are our priorities? How do we apply those resources? And how do we implement effectively the programs that we have? Has a significant impact on the outcomes and the impact that it can have on county residents. And it really takes an executive that can build consensus, that's worked in big bureaucracies, that understands budgets to bring those solutions to the fore.
And kind of my last question, what would you say to a constituent in about 60 seconds about why they should vote for you, specifically based on your past experience or just what a world of Orange County would look like after you were elected as mayor?
My vision for Orange County is an affordable, livable, prosperous county for everyone. And I have the business experience, the defense, national security, public safety experience, as well as the federal legislative experience to deliver on that vision by making hard choices, by prioritizing resources, and by building consensus, because the mayor has to work with the board to be able to deliver that. And I'm somebody who has been a beneficiary of significant, well-resourced public goods, and I know that that can change a family's trajectory, and I'm deeply committed to it from a personal perspective.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Saints Talk Local. This is former Congresswoman and Orange County mayoral candidate Stephanie Murphy. Thank you.